What's up, everybody? Jeff here, and this week we are taking a look at Dropzone Commander Operation Artemis. Now, this is a little bit of a weird one. I was a little surprised by this. It was only announced about a month or two ago, if I remember correctly. And this is sort of like a side game to Dropzone Commander. You play as the PHR, which are these big robot boys, and you are basically hunting giant megafauna. And the cool thing about this is that everything in here is compatible with Dropzone Commander, the big kind of small-scale army game. Interestingly, that is a game that I have been playing pretty much as long as I've been playing miniatures games, back when it was with Hawk Wargames, but now TT Combat owns it. And I've actually been on a kick lately of painting up my Dropzone and Drop Fleet stuff, so hopefully I'll have some other videos out about that stuff in the near future. But I wanted to check this out because it's an interesting little side project, and it's always cool to get some extra cool toys to use in the war game. So let's break into this. So as you can see, we have tons of sprues, which is always fun. Some D6s as well as flight stands. They look like the same flight stands that you usually get in Dropzone. Dropzone and Drop Fleet, they both have the same little pegs that they use for their flight stands, which are really convenient because they're easy to install. Unlike most flight stands, they never work correctly. So it looks like, unlike the old megafauna that were all resin, these are going to be plastic on sprues, which is cool. I always prefer plastic. Resin, I kind of hate resin, to be honest with you. So it's really cool that they're moving pretty much everything in their line, at least for the Drop Universe games, is moving over to plastic. So it looks like 2 sprues for the megafauna, 2 sprues for the PHR. Let's take a quick look at this. In bags, which is a little annoying, but that's fine. Looks like nice quality. Their plastic's always been good. It's pretty firm plastic, but you can definitely see a good level of detail. It looks like some of these guys are going to come in a lot of pieces. We got some teeny little parts over here. If I remember right, most of the monsters in this are pretty big, so I guess these legs must attach to some of the big bodies and make some big boys. It looks like both sprues are identical, so no need to look at the other one, but these are pretty cool. And then we also have these little flying creatures that are tiny, but they look like they have quite a bit of detail. Even like the wings have little sinew and veins and stuff, because they kind of look like bat wings. Pretty cool. And the tail has little spines on it and stuff. Very nice. Yeah, you can even see like there's texturing on the legs. It's cool. I think these should be pretty sweet to paint up because there's not a lot of like flat, just big flat spaces. So if you wanted to slap chop these guys, I think the speed paint or express paint or whatever you're using, contrast, will work pretty well because it'll show off the detail of the textures quite a bit. Pretty cool. Those, if they're the same as what they used to be, the megafauna will have rules for Dropzone Commander where they'll just kind of act as like third party, just threats on the board. So like they'll attack both players indiscriminately. So these are interesting. This is a new type of walker for the PHR. The PHR are known for their big stompy robots, which is why I like them. And these are interesting because they're much bigger than the standard PHR walkers, but they kind of maintain the same body shape, more or less. They have like the big cockpit with the hinged legs. And they even have a lot of the similar weapon loadouts. Like this is from a Zeus, which is like a command walker. This cannon, I forget exactly what it's called, but that's definitely a large version of one of the cannons from the standard walkers. And so they look a lot like the normal walkers, but they're obviously quite a bit bigger. I'll see if I can show one of the other ones for scale purposes. But I wonder what kind of rules they're going to end up having in the wargame, because they ought to be quite chonky. Definitely some new weapon options. That looks like it'll mess some people up, as well as like a hammer and another melee weapon. I guess these are probably specialized weapons for hunting the megafauna, because I don't think they ever have melee weapons on their walkers in the game, aside from obviously these guys now. So that's pretty cool. So we have the other sprue for those. This is interesting. It comes with clear bases, which I guess on a few of the flyers you would see clear bases, but not, you don't see in Dropzone. Normal ground-based models don't have bases of any kind. Now, people will definitely customize and make their own bases for stuff, just because it's a little easier to play, to game with, and it's a little sturdier. But all of the measuring in the game, if I remember correctly, all the measuring in the game goes from the center mass. So there's no rules about bases, right? So you don't have to have a specific base size. You can just have the model naked, or you can have them on a base of your choosing, presumably within reason. You don't want to have like a gigantic base, but this is an interesting move because they've never supplied bases for infantry or for ground units before. So I guess everything in here will be on a base, and you'll just have to use them like that in Dropzone. I wonder if they're relevant for the rules for this. I'll have to take a look through and see if that's actually something you need, or if you can choose to not use it. We've got some interestingly pre-punched card scenery. Got some little paths, some trees. It's cool. This is it's like cardstock plus. It's not quite like an MDF type thing, but it's not paper. The printing looks good, which is cool. We got some tokens, PHR tokens, I assume monster E tokens, conditions maybe. I actually don't know much about the rules for this game just yet. And measuring things. I always find these super inconvenient. I don't know why a lot of games will supply these. I guess just in case you're not a wargamer and you don't already have a measuring tape, but I don't usually like these very much at all. You can just use your regular measuring tape. If you're watching this video, I bet you already have one. Alright, unit cards. So we have the Minotaur. I think these are all brand new. The Harpies might have existed before. I was actually looking recently because I thought they used to sell these and I never had them, because I had the other megafauna. But I don't know if those were just, they had rules for them, or if they ever sold this model before. It's definitely a new version of it, because they were not plastic if they did sell them. We have the Minotaur, the Sphinx, and the Harpy. And for the walkers, the Mithra, the Daka, the Agas, and the Rashnu. So this has the Command Walker loadout. Yeah, so I think that's the shield. Looks like it shares the shield with friendly units. You got a minigun and a hammer. That's pretty cool. Definitely going to be some special rules for this, because I don't recognize a lot of this stuff. There's some symbols here and special rules. Doesn't look like this transfers over directly in any real way to Dropzone, so they'll have their own like special rules, you know, normal Dropzone rules at some point in the future. This guy's got a railgun, a flamethrower. He's got a lot of weapons. I guess they have like carapace weapons as well as the arm weapons, so these guys look like they're going to be loaded for bear. I wonder how that's going to transfer over. Foe Slayer missiles, Strix autocannon, that's definitely from Dropzone. And a Gladius. And a battlefield laser and an obliterator cannon. Pretty cool. Most of them have the minigun, which is pretty standard for PHR guys. Looks like quite a bit of variety. I wonder if these are customizable, or if you get just enough to build the 4 loadouts. There's only 2 sprues, so I would guess there's some options if you wanted to build 2 of one and not build some of the others. So these guys all have their kind of biological attacks. We have claws and vomit. Pretty gross. We got large jaws. And we've got huge jaw, colossal jaw, spines. This guy looks like he's going to be the big baddie, the Minotaur, for sure. 12 health. If that was in Drop Zone rules, that would be a nightmare. We've got a deck of cards. Now again, I don't really know a ton about the rules except for the kind of high level view. So I don't think anything in here is really going to mean much to me at this point until I actually get a chance to play. Which will hopefully be soon, but let's take a look. Anyway. Adrenaline Surge. Kind of thin. The paper on the cards is a little bit on the thin side, but not so bad. I'm guessing these are to control the baddies, although I think it's a 1v1 game. Some special abilities. Yeah, so these are for the fauna. Maybe these are just special abilities for both players. I don't know if there's like AI rules. Let's take a look actually. Very small rulebook. That's interesting. This is like, I don't know, 10 pages? 20 pages? Interesting. It looks like Dave, who is the sort of founder, the Hawk Wargames guy, Dave Lewis, looks like he didn't work on the rules. He just did some of the sculpting, which is interesting. And Wargames Atlantic is credited as sculptor, which is another company, which is kind of cool. I guess they helped out on making the models. Some fluff about the monsters. Explaining how the cards work. Turn order, how to move, how to attack. Noise levels. Search rules for your weapons. And scenarios. It's like 5 different scenarios. And an ad for their other stuff. Yeah, so looks like pretty simple rules. I would imagine this won't be too hard to learn. I could probably read this in the amount of time that this video takes, so I'll have to dig into it in more detail and get back to you on that. Let's see what else we get. So we got paper mats. Pretty big paper mat, to be honest. This is, I gotta be 3 by 3. Yeah. So that's a pretty chunky mat. You can't even really see it all on my camera, which is unfortunate. But it's like a wrecked city pattern with streets, which is cool. This would be useful for a small game of Drop Zone, but it's unfortunate that it's not quite 4x4, because then you could just use it for Drop Zone. And then we've got paper buildings. This game is famous for its paper buildings. Drop Zone, especially. But these are very different. So same scale, but the paper buildings that you would get in like the old 2-player starter for Drop Zone, all the buildings were like a little bit cleaner looking. These are much more overgrown and kind of decrepit looking. They're also a different style, I think. Although, yeah, it looks like you can just fold these. They have little holes on the edges for the nip to go through. Like so. Although maybe you do it from the outside because it probably looks cleaner then. Look, I'm smart. Don't listen to what anyone tells you. Something like that. And then this will all fold up. Having played a few games of Drop Zone recently, These feel better, and I don't know if it's just that the buildings I have from the old Dropzone starters are old, so they're a little flimsier, but these definitely feel stiffer, which is good. Although that might just be that it's the first time I'm folding it. So I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure how that's supposed to go. It doesn't seem to work. I'm probably just screwing it up though, so take that with a grain of salt, but you kind of get the picture here. It looks like the game's going to have enough of these to fill out that board pretty well. This is the same. This is a longer, or I guess a wider but shorter building. Oh, this is actually a regular shaped building. Cool. So this is like a corner, which is kind of cool. I don't think we've seen that in their paper buildings before. So you get 2 of those, and then 2 more rectangle shaped shorter buildings. So you end up with 6 of them, which is a pretty good chunk. I'm wondering what the rules are going to call for as far as the density of the tables, because I feel like you'd want a little more than that, maybe. That's a little sparse, certainly by Dropzone standards, but maybe that's what you want on this. It's definitely seems like the setting is going to be in much more rundown cities than what you're used to in Dropzone. So, but yeah, that's everything that the game comes with. It's a pretty tidy little package here. It's you get quite a bit of stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to putting together these minis and getting them going in a game of Dropzone, but I'm hoping I'll also be able to play some Operation Artemis in the very near future, and I will report back. Well, I went ahead and put the models together, and they're pretty cool. I don't think these mechs are my favorite of all the PHR models, but they're up there. I was surprised to see how posable they are. The legs can kind of be in a variety of different stances, like this guy is up on his tippy toe, and the arms can be posed in a whole variety of different ways, which is really cool. I speculated before about the loadouts, and I did confirm that you can make 2 of any of the variants. I don't think you'd want to do that for Operation Artemis, but potentially if you're going to be playing these in Dropzone, you may want to double up on some of them. Although, time of recording, we don't have rules for them yet. But I am quite pleased with these guys. They look pretty sweet. They actually have joints in the shoulder and in the where the weapon attaches, so they can be kind of twisted and turned in different directions, and you can pose them pretty dynamically, which is pretty sweet. Just to give you a sense of the size we're talking about here, this is a Phobos, one of the standard walkers for PHR, and yeah, they're obviously quite a lot smaller. Oops, I actually just disconnected a leg. So they're about twice the height of a standard walker. I'm curious if they're going to be able to be deployed by a standard dropship, or if they're going to need their own, because they are very large, but they only have 1 connection point. So I don't know if they're going to work dangling from the bottom of a Juno, but again, we'll have to wait and see. And then for the megafauna, we have this big beastie. These guys weren't super complicated to put together. The big guy, his arms and legs were keyed pretty well, so this thing was, I think, 8 or 9 pieces, something like that. And it wasn't too difficult to put together. These guys were a little bit trickier because the legs are not keyed. You just have to sort of pose them. And in the art, this one is standing just on the one leg. He's kind of like this. The other one is standing on both legs, and you do have to be careful to make sure that he's positioned in a way that he can actually stand up. They're cool models, but I will say those legs, they could have done a better job putting those legs together. The section that they actually attach to is like just a big flat open section, so the leg can kind of sit in there a variety of different ways, which I guess is cool if you want to pose them different, but it does make it a little bit tricky, but nothing too complicated. And then the little guys are all single piece, so these are just cut them out and clean them up. The models overall were easy to work with. A few of them did have some mold lines, some minor mold lines that were fairly easy to clean up. It wasn't too big of a deal. And also, just to mention, the megafauna, this is only 1 sprue's worth, so there's 2 identical sprues, so you get double what you see here. I just didn't bother getting them all ready for the video. So this is all of the walkers. You get 4, but the megafauna, you get 2 of this guy, 4 of these guys, and I think 10 of the little bat creatures. So that's everything that it comes with. I'm really pleased with these guys, especially. I think they're really awesome. I'm going to be really curious to see what they play like in Dropzone. Hopefully they only come in a group of 1, because otherwise you'll need to make doubles. I don't know if they plan to sell these separately. I would imagine they will. But as of right now, if you make 1 of each variant, you won't be able to have a group of 2. So hopefully they're pretty flexible and forgiving about how their rules will be implemented. But I'm looking forward to getting these guys painted up and giving them a shot. That's everything I got for Dropzone Commander Operation Artemis. Get down in the comments below and let me know what you think. Are you excited to check out Operation Artemis? Do you want to pick these guys up just to get them into your game's Dropzone? And stay tuned for more. A huge thank you to the extremely cool kids tier on Patreon, the Steam Powered Scoundrels, Dogmatize, Spanner Rider, Dynat, Rob Younce, Tom Likely, and Russets. And thanks for watching.